Welcome back to the Extracted podcast. My name is Shannon Boyles, and this is episode 2, Jared Iwi. And Jared Iwi is one of the funniest people on the face of the earth.
You say that, and I've had moments, but I never live up to her standards. They're way
Millions
too high.
of moments. But break it down for me, Jared. What is the purpose of why we are doing this?
I'm glad you've asked because there's a couple. One, it's for you and me.
Right.
We got to get these stories out. You know, we've lived, I think, fantastic lives. We find ourselves in good places. Do you have people that I have a large, probably larger than normal, slightly frightening amount of people who say to me very genuinely, it's hard to believe you're still alive.
People say it to me daily.
Yeah, okay, because I talked to my buddy Todd Calvert in Texas. Brilliant dude. Mm-hmm. Guy just radiates innovation and fun. And yeah, he said that it was so genuine. It was just a conversation, and I was like, we were just talking about day-to-day things. Like, he was like, I like napkins, and I was like, I drink from cups, and he's like, I can't believe you're still alive. Like, it was just a very normal, banal thing I hear that a lot, and it's true. I've been very fortunate, and now I'm a little bit scared that maybe I've taken all my children's luck with me, but that's the first reason.
Okay.
Is the stories, and that we're still alive.
That's
so
right.
We might as well share them. And the second reason is, I think there's only one reason.
And just, we have funny moments in telling really tragic, sad stories.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've had a lot of people, and you likely the same, say, gosh, you should do a podcast.
Right.
You should be on a show. I mean, it used to be, it started way high, and it just slid downhill. In college, it was like, you should be on Saturday Night Live, and then it came down here, it's like, you should be in the local news, and now it's like, maybe you do a podcast? So here we are, doing that.
Well, I think that you're seeing that the wrong way, but people are right. You should be on SNL, and you should be on the stage, and everyone should know your name, because you are, like I said, one of the funniest people walking the face of the earth.
I appreciate it. I just want to, I just want to get something out. I have a lot of things out, which is silly. Like, I have a lot of things out there, but I really want to get the book together. I want to do that, and this is
helping you because writing is something we talk about being really hard for both of us. I'm more of a talker, but you write, and you're better disciplined at it than me.
I'm excited to announce I talked to a producer of the NPR Moth radio show yesterday.
What?
Yeah, and it was really cool. She had some of the stories that I've told there, and she's like, "These are really great."
Wow.
She goes, "They're not NPR because they're a little racy." One includes a strip club. Sorry about my throat. I drink coffee and I shouldn't, and it irritates my throat. I try to overlook the throat clearing. One is it's a very funny story. It's about me on accidentally taking all the shrooms for an entire bachelor party, and the other story is about all of Farmington, New Mexico, thinking I'm gay and wanting to kill me. And she just called. She said, "I want to hear the story you're going to tell at the Moth Grand Slamma-Jamma."
Grand Slamma-Jamma is coming up in a week and a half?
March 25th at the Newman Center at University of
Denver.
And
this is a big deal because you've won every Moth Radio Hour competition in Denver.
Yeah.
And I know you're great at downplaying, but this is a big deal. This is
it is exciting.
The Super Bowl of the Moth Radio Hour.
Well, and then talking to her yesterday, she's, "I want to hear what you're going to do at this thing because I want to know." We love what you're doing. We just want to know if there's
if we can air it.
Air it, right. And that's great. It's NPR. It's a very big deal. And I told her, and she was laughing and crying and said, "That's amazing.
Okay.
I hope that's what you do."
Because as an NPR listener, I will tell you that they know how to beep out the curse words if that were to come out. But I'm glad that you had her laughing and crying because that's your sweet spot.
No, and this story is... it's so real, so genuine. It's the kind of thing that has me lying awake thinking, why have I not written this? Because it involves legacy. It involves, and it's silly. But I'm trying to learn something via the therapy I sought in 2021 after the insurrection. That the woman, the wonderful counselor, said you can't beat yourself up for not writing a book. It has to be a positive. Why is my finger in my eye? I don't know. She said, just don't get up and say, "Jared, you're an asshole for not writing a book," which is what I've done for 25 years. She's like, "Say I like writing and I'm going to write today."
I know that Bob Newhart had a profound impact in your life. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he ever wrote a book, did he?
Probably.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't think so. But like the storytelling, you do it beautifully both through spoken word and written. So I think, like your therapist said, not to really beat yourself up because you're doing the thing. You're doing it.
No, it's great. And, and listen, I don't want to be some sad sack. Like, oh, God, another guy who's going to talk about his therapist. It's never been me. I'm just saying that back to what this is.
Right.
This is a step in that. And a lot of people will be like, Jesus, dude, just write the book. Well, I also just want to just spread them out. I want to lay it out. That's where my brain is. My brain, I think it's like an ADHD thing, but I just want to burn this entire house down and then get a bulldozer and plow it and then cover it in concrete like 1 square acre and just lay it all out into a big pattern like one of those match games you play with the kids and you flip cards and you see which one match. But I'm going to do that with all the stories so I can walk amongst the stories like maybe some kind of friendly drill sergeant and get them in line, and this helps.
Beautifully said. Okay, what is it? Remember we were talking about the Netflix Octopus Murders? You know how the show has that graphic and it starts to map out all the...
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you call that kind of a thing? Because like I feel like
it's like a beautiful mind yarn string theory. Yeah.
Like I wanted to say Venn diagram, but no, that's like 2-dimensional.
Yeah.
I feel like my storytelling jumps all over time, and so I'm terrible at getting things in sequence. That's my problem.
And and I think one thing that I have a lot of short stories that I could just put into a book. And I was talking to my buddy Jason, who's he's a digital nomad in Bali, and he's been waiting for this book for a long time. Yeah, I have some of the smartest, most beautiful people on the planet supporting me and waiting for.
You're one of them too, buddy.
Yeah, I've made a lot of love to me, and I have pretty high standards. So
I wouldn't be down here in the Bang Bang bunker with you talking about heavy stuff.
We gotta open
if you
up.
weren't this beautiful person.
We're commercial radio people. We got to come out hot when we turn on that mic. It's like, hey, coming to you live from the Bang Bang bunker
with traffic and weather.
With traffic and weather on the TEDs. But no, Jason Galvin. What the hell was I talking about?
I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. This is really sad. But anyway,
I totally ruined
he's
that.
one of those people waiting on the book.
Yeah.
And
patiently.
I told him.
Great.
He was like, just do your short stories, put them in a book. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. I will have there will be stories, but they're going to connect.
Yeah.
Imagine one story is yellow and the other story is blue. There's going to be this interstitial where they make green.
Yeah.
And so these two pools meet.
Right.
Because I've met many bloggers and known many different people that have put together stories, and they're just like from their blog.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, great, but I don't need to buy the book, like, which I will to support you. Sure, I'll buy 10 copies. If somebody writes a book, I'll do whatever I can for you to support you. But
yours is like multidimensional, and it's like, like you said, the green.
And I think that's. I know the story as it is, and I could write that, but there's this other depth that, not haunts isn't the right word, but kind of haunts me, and I know it's there, and it's really useful and cathartic, not for me, but for the reader, and I know this. So I could write about, like, my beautiful little girl and her being, 1 year old, and I try to get her to bed, and she pops up, and then I hide under her crib because if she sees me, she's going to get all wired. So I'm lying under her crib waiting for her to go back to sleep, and I'm wondering, is this what's happened to my life? And then I start thinking, is like Kobe Bryant doing this with his daughters right now? Like, we're all connected in the weirdest ways. These people perhaps we put on a pedestal. Yeah, they're probably lying under their kid's bed at some point, wondering exactly what happened to them because they don't want to stir the child.
Sure.
and there's these commonalities that I think make the writing more useful than saying, I woke up and had an outhouse as a kid.
Right.
Jiggly biggly. So, and that's where this comes in. And I'm sorry, I've had
Don't
coffee.
apologize.
No,
please.
I'm going to apologize to this person because I had coffee and I'm a little wired right now.
We love caffeine.
Yeah.
The last 2 points I want to mention before we get into you today. Number one, Jared and I have the same birthday, 7/7/74. We met in college in 1992. And over the years, Jared has been the man on the radio, man on the street, man on the stand-up stage, and always encouraged me in my stand-up pursuits that were small but mighty. And you are my comedic mentor, hero, and spirit animal. So the other piece is that gamification. If either of us needs an edit on the other person's interview.
Keep talking. I'm just going to get a water thing real quick.
So each week, one of us interviews the other. And if one of us needs an edit, the other person gets a point. And this is our 4th episode that we are putting down. And we are now still 0-0 with nobody needing an edit so far.
Yeah, no, I got close. I thought for sure in the last episode when I was asking about your relationship.
Yeah. Well, but then I dropped the F-bomb, and that was what because I'm trying not to curse, because lately it just comes out.
Oh, ever since COVID, and all of a sudden Sarah and I were at home, and all our potty mouths that we had at work were suddenly here. Our kids sound like drunken sailors. So,
so with that all said,
yeah.
Okay. What year do you want to go to?
Well, I'm going to go to 1987. Okay. And let's just go. This is an interesting story because this is one of those stories, and I think as someone who wants to tell a story, as somebody who wants to be a writer, you can write down the 400 words that is the basics, but then squish it into something that really matters. Because the basics of this story are quite short, but there's so much there, and you can't be someone who belabors details and is or too overwrought and just mines the person of their energy to want to be with you. You have to make them really want to be with you. And this is one of those stories I think that takes you there, not because of my experience, but because of my mom. And it was August 1987.
Okay.
And summer has come to an end. There's a few ways that summer comes to an end, kind of rather cruelly and gradually. First, JCPenney comes out with their back to school catalog in July.
Right.
You monsters. Like, it's July. I don't need to see khakis. I don't want to see any kids. I don't want to see some kid model in pleats.
And those catalogs were thick.
And it just was like, oh my God, what did you just do? Why are you reminding me?
Yeah. Like that gives kids anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That time is suddenly
fleeting.
Finite. Yeah. I mean, come on. So, that was one of the knives in the back of summer. Another one for a lot of us was sports practice.
Yes.
And in August, 2 weeks before everybody else in school, we had 2-a-days in football.
Brutal.
And actually in Walden, it was just 1-a-day, really long in the morning because all the kids had to go work. So, right. And they figured we were getting our ass worked off by our dad, so they didn't need to do it for us. So my mom wakes me up, and we were a very early riser house. Like my dad would get up at 3, go get a load of logs, take it down to Fort Collins, which is 2 hours away through Cooter Canyon, come back, get another load of logs, and take it back again. And it just blew my mind. And often, hold on, let me mute this thing.
Whoa!
Hold on.
We're still 0-0.
Okay, yeah, I'm not editing that. Damn it! I should not drink coffee because it makes my throat crazy. So sorry that people have to listen to hear me clearing throat. Okay, so I'm good. So, except for the throat clearing, just try to ignore it. I can't ignore it.
You're fine.
So my dad is gone, and he's taking a load of logs, and my mom wakes me up, and she says. She does this little sweet wake up. It's time to get up. It's time to get up. It's morning. And I'm at the point like I'm 87, so I'm 13.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
But still, how sweet.
I know, I miss it now. She'd do a little trumpet. I'm like, oh God.
And your mom was a petite, cute little gal with the sweetest voice, so I could totally picture that.
I'm about to wreck everything. Hold on. My mom has an announcement she needs to make.
Oh.
And she tells me, I think, because there's no one else. We live in the middle of nowhere. There's no one else to talk to. But she tells me, I thought, good morning, Mom. And she's like, yeah, honey, your dad was in an orgy last night.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
At 13?
Yeah.
How does she know there was no, cell phone? You guys lived in the middle of nowhere.
I know, it's so crazy. So, oh, God. So we lived in the middle of nowhere, but in the summer, you would get a lot of young people that would come into town. And in this specific instance, it was a bunch of Europeans.
Oh.
And they were young, beautiful, college-aged Europeans who came to get some experience in American woods because they were forestry students.
Ah.
And already, just as I talk, everything's a sexual innuendo. Everything's a double entendre.
But your dad, because I met your dad at graduation, I was struck. I was like,
Were you in an orgy with him?
no, I thought Jared's dad looks like Grizzly Adams, like
No, yeah.
hot Grizzly Adams.
Right?
Sorry.
No, yeah, he was like Santa Claus's rougher brother.
Hot brother.
Yeah, you're very generous. So
sorry if
I
that was
remember I'm in my tighty whities. I'm a little bit pudgy. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. And my mom tells me this almost as if
God.
it's a yawn. Almost, it just probably came out of her. And then she's like helping me get ready. I'm trying to find stuff. It's really early.
Oh.
It's probably 5. You know,
Is it dark?
It's dark. Yeah, there's cream of weed on the stove. I know that. And
Oh.
it's cold. I mean, we lived in a wood heated house, and so you know, you got to get that fire going. It's concrete floors, and
I'm not laughing at that. Just that what she said.
right. And so I know what an orgy is, but I don't really know how to.
Because you've scrambled HBO and you've
Right,
figured
no,
out.
I've seen through my grandma's Cinemax. I've seen things. I grew up in a very sexualized childhood.
So
Not
did
because of my mom. You did too. But because I was at the bar a lot. My dad was always flirting.
Yeah.
And it was always like young
Overt.
waitresses would chase me around. Actually, when I was 7, I had a hat that said Heartbreaker because I would, like... They would like rape me in the bathroom and stuff.
Okay, I'm
And
not
I
laughing.
shouldn't use that R word, but I mean, really, honestly, they would chase you around and kiss me because you're like bored people.
Well, you're cute.
Yeah, I was pretty cute as a kid. Now I'm like all
No,
oblong
please.
and weird. I look like I just like was birthed by something much larger.
No.
And so, so all these beautiful, and I saw some of these people, and they were gorgeous. Like, all right, props,
Right.
Dad. Like, wow. So she tells me this, and right away I'm like, oh God, I feel bad that you have to tell me. Oh my God. Like, God, I wish there was somebody you could dial on the phone. I wish
Right.
or you could go, I wish you could,
Go to
if
a
we-
support
If
group.
we had a neighbor, you could go tell
Yeah.
Karen next door that your husband was in an orgy. So anyway, I was telling about a sexualized childhood, and there was a lot of. I remember when I was 11, I went to the cookhouse, and Tall Todd, the bartender, said, "Hey, happy birthday!" He's 11, and he said, "Are you gonna get laid this year?" And there's like everybody there, and when he said the term "laid," I knew it was kind of sexual, but I just saw 2 people lying on top of each other, not in any like biological
Right.
puzzle piece
Right.
way, but almost like there wasn't enough room.
Planking.
Right, they're planking, and it's funny when he said that, I was like, well, maybe I have been laid.
Right?
I mean, based on my mental imagery.
Your context and understanding of it.
And so that's where I'm at. When she says orgy, I'm just seeing like flesh, like a roiling mound of flesh. And so I'm like, well, that's weird that I know that because I've got to eat a silent breakfast with my cream of wheat, which is now sexual in my head. And then like a silent 30-minute ride into town, and then
Oh, God.
I gotta play football with other people and dogpiling me and have this. So, but that's just one level. I haven't even got to the real level of this yet. I haven't even got to the real imagery. Okay. So the cookhouse was also a funnel for drugs.
I know, because last episode we met DY.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of guys who worked for, I think it was the city of Fort Collins, but there's a ditch up there that they manage, that they release water through the Pooter, which is, I don't know.
Pooter Canyon, yeah.
But there's a lot of like pretty rough dudes up
Yeah.
there. And for a while, I don't know if it now, I know if your son's working up there, don't worry about Trent. He's probably fine. But back then,
There was a Trent.
a lot of drugs. And I worked at the cookhouse. I washed dishes. I've been promoted by now from bar guy to the main dishwasher.
Because that's where you had your first beer at 5.
Right, at 5 years old,
yeah.
I was there, and at this point, I'd already carved my name in the bathroom, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
And that story is wonderful because that was where anxiety blossoms. Is just that story. Not that knowing that your dad's an orgy at the age of 13 is an issue.
Yeah.
But, so where I'm on this silent ride into town in this large station wagon, bouncing its way into Walden, and thinking about this, and I thought, well, I wasn't really too cognizant. I think I was just like, oh crap, so I'm gonna have to run my ass off in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I have to do this chunky kid who has not worked out over summer, which he was supposed to. I mean, granted, I worked for my dad and doing dishes, but it wasn't exactly.
You weren't
aerobic.
running, sprints.
And so I'm mostly stressed about that. So I thought I can put this behind me. Mom, I'm glad I was there for you therapeutically. I can put it behind you. Now, I mentioned the cookhouse and being a funnel for drugs because poor decisions were often made there.
Often.
So one of those poor decisions would be a couple weeks later, because that's how long it takes for film to develop. A couple weeks later, I'm washing dishes, and the guy who owned it, Tim, he was not shy about sharing things with me. One time, I was there, and he comes back to me with a tin foil with drugs in it.
Wow.
And he says, Jared, if you ever buy cocaine, don't ever buy this crap. This is what those motherfuckers just tried to sell me. Is this. And I was like, washing dishes, like, thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, that's the thing. You leave a childhood like mine, and you never get to work anywhere near as cool as that. I worked in tech, which they had like foosball tables and snacks, but nobody was telling me which drugs to buy.
Wow, what an upstanding pillar in the community
and then he crumples it up and throws it away, and I'm washing these. I'm like, should I get that?
Yeah,
like, should I
go sell that?
Go sell some rock in Walden. So this time though, Tim comes up to me and he's like, I got the pictures back from the other night.
Oh.
He goes, you heard about what happened? I don't know what he's talking about. So I dry my hands, you know. That's the thing.
You're 13.
I'm 13.
Okay,
you go to a restaurant and you don't know who's washing your dishes. The guilty stigmata hands of an orgy child is touching your plate. Because I'm so guilty now. I'm steeped in my dad's misbehavior. So he had a hot tub, which was a bit of an anomaly up there at the time.
Yes.
He was way ahead of his time. And
80s
he had this
hot tub.
And he hands me these photos, and I'm like, of what? And I start looking, and it's the goddamn orgy.
Wow.
Yeah. People naked everywhere in the hot tub. The hot tub was like a flower, more blossoming.
Right, and then you've got these bodies.
You got people screwing around the edge, and my dad is in the middle, like naked, and he's just got a beer. And every picture, he's like, you know, he's doing his little end zone celebration.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, you know, and I'm sure he got some stuff out of it, but this, I didn't see them all.
Was he naked in the picture?
Yeah, he was naked. Yeah, everybody was naked. There was some kid who got a summer job at a photo booth who had no idea his life was going to change.
Did he make copies?
Yeah, I would tell he developed some Tim wasn't a redneck. Sorry, Tim. You were very sophisticated for the area, especially with your cocaine. But I just see a little bit of it, and then he's like, I'm going to put it in the back. You can see more of him later. I never did. Because that was
who
good.
would want to see that?
No, I like women, you know, and there was like beautiful naked women in the picture.
But then your dad's standing in the middle of it.
Right, yeah, and I was like...
that kills it for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of kids go through life and they don't get those kind of bonding moments where... I got mine with my mom therapeutically taking a dump on me, and then with my father and his friend sharing me the orgy.
Okay, well, with your mom's emotional, turd laying out there, how did she find out in real time that your dad had done this?
I think that there was something, it wasn't so
he told her?
Wholesome as he told her. I think there was something that happened at the cookhouse that night that either she had to go or there was a call.
Okay.
Which was common, and that's another story. There was a lot of violence there.
Yeah.
And so often we got to get involved in that, and that definitely, we talk about trauma all the time now, and I roll my eyes at a lot of it, but now I know. Yeah. I'm like, oh God. I mean, I saw some pretty terrible things there, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. And that was as you know how parties, they start out great and then they go too long and something terrible happens. Usually I was already swept away somewhere. Totally. So I always that's why I probably drank so much for so long, as I didn't realize there was such a downside, because I only saw the fun building up to the eventual fall of the Roman Empire. But
so Tim puts the photos in the back, and he's like, letting you know that if you want to look at them later, you can.
Yeah, they're on his desk in the back. Yeah.
But you weren't interested.
I didn't go see him. I don't know if I wasn't interested. I just didn't go see him, so I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there.
So when you had the film developed, was there any fallout from that, from the kids seeing it?
I didn't have it developed.
No, but I mean, when Tim brought the, how you have to drop off your film?
Nothing, nobody said anything.
Wow.
Yeah. I know if Sarah found out I was an orgy now, that I would be in my a shitty apartment trying to scrape enough money together to survive without her.
Damn right. And Sarah is your amazing wife, who is just a knockout anyway. But as she should. But you're not that kind of guy.
No, we because we have all the animals in our bed. Every night's like an orgy, so it's like some kind of terrible scene from Caligula. But yeah, so
That's wild. That your mom woke you up with that kind of news. Because I've had my mom wake me up.
What an interesting alarm. We should have alarms like that.
I know.
Because you really get out of bed if you get weird news.
And like as an adult now, processing it, not only is it an alarm clock, but it is a traumatic, black mark on that day in your life. And it, it's like, I think like you, my brother and I were, we were forced to grow up very quickly at a young age due to like what my dad did for a living. And then my parents got divorced. And so absolutely, I saw.
Her dad is a hitman.
I saw stacks of magazines in the bathroom that may or may not have been like Omni magazine, like National Geographic, Penthouse Playboy, Car and Driver, those kind of things.
Penthouse was so hot.
Yeah, Penthouse Forum.
Yeah, Penthouse Forum was ridiculous.
I would read that at like 10, 11 years old, maybe earlier.
When I was 5, we lived in the Gould house, which was what I talked about a couple shows ago, and very rustic. It was built by the Eddie Gould Sr., the founder of Gould, Colorado's big log cabin, and we had like a quarter-mile driveway to Highway 14, and we'd walk back and forth, after the bus dropped us off. And somehow, I don't know how, but I found a Playboy.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I just hid in an outhouse and looked at, like, there's this one comic. There was this one comic that was so intriguing to me. Here, this whole thing's filled with beautiful women laying themselves out.
It was always the comic.
No, there was this one comic, yeah, and it was, I remember it. I was, and this guy's at a bank, and there's a woman ahead of him with a skirt, and he's lifting her skirt up with his cane and saying, yeah, I'd like to make a deposit.
I saw that one.
Yeah, and I was at the kid, and so they couldn't find me for hours. The whole town was looking for me. So everybody's looking for me. I don't know that. And then I start hearing people shout my name. I'm like, crap, I'm in this outhouse with this Playboy, which I could only see what I call them redneck lasers, the light that comes through the wood planks in an outhouse. So I'm just like reviewing this over and over. I don't know why that particular thing, and occasionally I could see some pubic regions, which were apparently hot in the 80s. And then, and then finally my dad rips open the door, and I was like, throw the thing. But they'd been looking forever for me. In the 80s, it took a while for a kid to be missing for people to care.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very long time.
That's funny, kind of parallel universe. I was in the 6th grade, and my dad would have people on his show that would give him weird stuff, like even Weird Al Yankovic came on his show, but he brought home it's supposed to be like a comedic magazine, but it was called Playboy for naked pigs. Oh, that's amazing. So it was totally done like a Playboy, but it was just naked pigs.
Yeah, and boy, what did that develop?
I took it to school.
Oh no,
on the bus. And you know how like kids line up outside before the first bell? Mm-hmm. I had like a swarm of kids around me all wanting to see it. And that year I had like the worst 6th grade teacher. And even my mom will tell you that this woman hated me. Yeah. And she came out and busted me and took the magazine and confiscated it. And it was sad because that was kind of like a collector's item. But in the same vein, I also got a T-shirt from my dad that was yellow with a dog on it, grinning. And it said, "Don't eat yellow snow." Oh. Got in trouble for that, too.
You got in trouble for that?
Yeah.
That's funny, Playboy. I think I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So,
maybe, I don't know.
So your dad, like your mom, what do you remember if like it was frosty in the house between those two after that?
No, I mean, the house was definitely weird. Like it was my mom living in her like rose-colored glasses world, just making do.
Yeah. And
then my dad, he just was like, roll the dice. Like, what are we going to get? Like a lot of fun or, angry guy. And it's interesting though, that moment of a young mom, very young parents, and of her telling her son that, like, what is that? Like that, I really like to dissect that, like that moment. Here we are, the middle of the woods in this home we just built together. This, that's a lot of stress on a family.
Yes.
And here she is, discovering her husband's been in an orgy, telling her son, what is that? Like, that's what I try to write that without making assumptions about her. I mean, I do know, my brother especially, my mom, she died way too young, and a lot of people, and myself too, hold her up as like an angel,
Yeah.
But there is this less than gilded lining of, well, why was she with him? Like, why did she stay with him? Especially from the kid's point of view. Like, really? Like, we probably could have... I mean, we would often say, like, Mom, we'll go to the city with you. We were like, her mom had money, and we could have stayed with her for a little bit. So there's that there, like, okay, you just found out where your husband was in an orgy. And there's a very good chance, there's a few times this week, he's not going to be very nice to you at all. Probably to the point that a lot of people might find a reason to get out of that relationship. And with parents that are more traditional, like my mom, you don't get divorced, especially with kids. You don't get divorced because of the kids. And sometimes I might get divorced because of the kids.
Right.
So there's a painting there. There's oil on canvas of that moment of... There's another moment similar to it that I might be able to help draw in parallel. One time, we had friends whose grandma owned a cabin kind of near us, so that's when actual kids would be in Gould.
Okay.
They'd come play at their grandma's place, Ann's place, which is also the name of my mom, but Ann's place is still there. We go visit that cabin every summer. And so I would be, when they were there, I was there all the time. I feel bad for those kids. Like, if they were just trying to have a family moment, sorry. I would just, like, put it in the window, like, and my dad was in an orgy! And, so I'm down there living the dream, absolute dream. But I often worried about my mom because she was alone and there in the woods. And I remember calling her one time and I was like, "Oh, hey, Mom, what's going on?" She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just hanging out with Bert and Willie and I just want to check in." And she's like, "Oh, I'm just doing nothing. I'm just eating a cherry." Which was interesting because we just been to the city. We got some cherries and she kept telling me not to eat them all because she wanted some too. And she painted this picture of such loneliness and such emotional entrapment. And I was probably in middle school, but it haunts me.
Yeah.
Really haunts me. And it makes me a sucker because
No, it doesn't.
in a way, it has made me a sucker just because I feel. I'm not such a douchebag to say I'm an empath, but I feel people or it's funny because my sister sent me a thing that people who are raised like us in unpredictable environments, often we get dragged down by people in the room who have the biggest amount of issues because we gravitate to them to try to make their world better. The next thing you know, we're drowning in their shit.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, yes. But that's one of those things that really sticks with me is her in this house that had been bustling in the morning, everybody leaving by herself, just pontificating alien fruit because we didn't have cherries up there very often. And I remember thinking like, okay, I'll come home soon. Like, shit,
I mean, that's so hard because I kind of have matching luggage on the mom stuff. And for me, it kind of like drilled a hole in my heart. And it just, like with having divorced parents, every holiday, whoever you weren't with, you were just agonizing over like, are they okay? Wow. Are they, and you're the youngest of your siblings, right?
No, my sister.
Oh, your sister is. Okay. I thought you were for some reason, but I
just act like a baby, but yeah.
No, you don't. And what I was going to say is you're so mature that I think your mom just probably always felt really comfortable sharing adult things with you.
Yeah, I did get that rap a lot as a kid. I remember actually Bert and Willie's mom actually said that, you're probably the most grown up of all the friends here.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest in my class, I think one of them. But, and I, even then when she told me that, I knew that. Like, I knew there was probably some lifetime burden of giving too many damns about everybody because of that.
Right. And, I mean, I know that what was modeled for me versus what I learned as an adult that's healthy and kind of the right way are two different realms. And so you try to unlearn some learned behaviors and work on yourself to whatever. And in doing that, I joke that my mom's a travel agent for guilt trips.
Oh my!
And if she ever sees this, I'm sorry, but it's true. But going back to like being empathic, you and I being born on the same day, we're Cancerians, we're under a water sign. It's like, to me, it all makes sense, But your heart is so beautiful, and don't ever feel like it's a slight, because I love that you're in touch and you have emotional intelligence. But back to the worrying about your mom. When you went to college, were they still living under the same roof?
Yeah, they didn't get divorced until, well, I mean, their marriage ended out in my wedding. Because
right.
My dad is, he's perished now, but holy crap, that was a poor decision. But so they were, and that's when I went to college. It was in the '90s, the '90s are just a wonderful
The 90s
time.
were great.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it historically, the Russian Empire has come to pieces, and it's before 9/11. We have like this decade of relative peace. A lot of the douchebaggery that we deal with today was starting to be born then, with some very, people just making money, and it's never going to stop. But the '90s were great for me too, and I was in Durango with you, and just I could not believe the world.
Yeah.
I could not believe all the opportunity. I couldn't believe there was a Denny's. I mean, I wasn't used to those kind of conveniences, but indoor plumbing, like this guys, you just pull this lever and it flushes. And my parents at that time were kind of going through a renaissance. They took on something that where me and my brother, sister, and I are embittered about, like playfully, is that they just took on all these kids with much love and care.
It's like, who are you?
Like, who the fuck are you? Like, were you in an orgy lately, Dad?
Yeah.
Did Mom tell any of these little kids that are at your house? And there was a lot of in the North Park area, which is Gould and Walden. There was a lot of growth. People started to discover it. We got a masseuse that moved up there. Yoga became a thing. Nice. So it was a pretty cool time, I think.
Yeah, it was transformative.
Yeah.
It's funny, and I didn't mean to, so much of what you say, I mean, I laugh at it, is because I've got similar experience. But just like my brother has a little boy, and the way I see my dad being a grandpa and so sweet, I'm like, where the F were you? Like, who came to the party? Look who's here now, like...
Oh, and you're sober? Whoa.
Right. Yeah, and all of a sudden you have patience and you've chilled out.
Yeah.
Because I just was always used to being talked to like this, through clenched teeth and fearing my furious father. But, okay, so your parents go through this renaissance. They take in these kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's kids...
Were they random strays?
No, I mean, it was like everybody who had kids... They would bring them to my parents. My dad is, he looked like Santa Claus. He's like this magical woods creature. My mom was this very petite, artsy, loving, optimistic person. And they were fantastic adoptive grandparents to all these kids in town. That, as a matter of fact, there's a picture.
I see the stack of photos.
Oh, okay. So here, I don't even know who all these kids are, but this is both my parents' dad. I ended up with all their photos, but this is just a bunch of kids at their house.
Oh, look at that. They're so happy.
Yeah, I mean, this is they just took in all the kids, and they would do play stuff and whatever. It's amazing amount of children there.
So this happens as you go to college.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, they are they don't have to deal with their own kids, and they have they're just having a blast, and they're helping out these younger parents. I think because they were so young, they probably were just, we got this, we can help. We went through some stuff. So, it was a good time. And then, 90s were great. And then it was funny, like, pretty much after 9/11 was my little 9/11 started popping up. And, you just don't think your family's going to would be Jerry Springer material.
Right, I know. And, throwing chairs and everything. Now, I remember you got married in August, and that was 2000.
June of 2000.
Sorry, just kidding.
2002. How do you not remember my anniversary?
I'm trying to.
Relationship can't work if you don't remember my anniversary.
It was summer and it was downtown. Okay, so June of 2003.
2.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so
you were
wedding.
By my wife to sabatage me, weren't you? Like, just tell him it's 2003. See if he agrees to it.
No, this is where my dyslexic and left-handed brain starts screwing it all up. Yeah. You've mentioned a couple times that your wedding day was the end of your parents' marriage. Do you feel like pontificating?
I wish their marriage would have ended long before, but I'm glad they got that 90s time to, my brother and me, like, we know my dad was, if he wasn't screwing around, he was trying pretty hard, and I grew up with that too. I just thought flirting was flirting. I didn't know that would hurt other people. That's how I communicated. I didn't know how to communicate. It's funny, like, in college, I realized I knew a lot of people because, I knew how to talk to girls, but I never really sealed the deal. And guys hung out with me because I knew girls, Often I would be alone in a jungle of coitus sounds at night because I introduced all these people. My dad was, he was always angling for something. So yeah, he had a girlfriend, and then that girl left her husband, and I didn't know all of this. I mean, I didn't know this until at our wedding. Is it because this would be a good point to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Ooh, that was a tease.
Yeah, that's because we are pros at doing this. We are teasing.
So we're gonna put a pin in your wedding day and the demise of your parents' marriage.
Actually, to say this on behalf of me and especially my wife, the end of their marriage is like a fucking wedding gift. It's like the best wedding gift ever. Yeah. And I didn't know how that was going to be the gift that keeps on giving. As a matter of fact, that story I'm going to tell for perhaps NPR is kind of the penultimate piece of that gift.
Yep.
In a very dark, terrible way, but at least I got to be the person part of it. So that was a part of it.
Well, thanks for sharing about Anne and your dad. And just, you're so funny. And I know these are tough memories to pull back up. But...
for me, they're always there, and I don't, for me, they're, art, they're
therapy.
For me, it's like, I don't think I'm hampered by them. I think I'm only empowered. I have the story. It's like, haha, motherfucker, look what you gave me.
That's how I feel. Cause I'm like, I don't really, go around letting folks know I'm like really strong and been through hell and back. But it's like, I agree where it's like, you can't kill me. Ha ha.
I know. I saw my dad naked in a hot tub. Woo! Popping lock.
We'll end on that note. See you next time on the Extracted
Still
Podcast.
0-0.
Still 0-0.
0-0.